What's up, guys? So today I want to show you how we do like a more technical complex selection with NBP Actions 15, because a lot of times, a selection can elude us using Photoshop's regular tools. And a perfect example here is going to be this lingerie outfit that Freya is wearing. It's a very light lavender and it's mixed in with her tattoo on her thighs, mixed in with her skin tone, etc. There's a lot happening here that would make the selection usually difficult. Most of the time, we might just run a magic wand and hope. We might do a quick little, lasso or something like that, or use color range and get close enough, but we might be painting the skin we don't want. We have all these meshy areas and underlying areas. So let me walk you through Actions 15 a little bit to see how we use Actions 15 in a technical way to get a better selection, okay? So if you haven't seen the Actions 15 overview video, I recommend that you do. It's also a training video. It's over an hour long, and it's really going to give you everything you need to know before you invest in buying this set of actions. It's really only 2 core actions and a bunch of secondary actions, but it's about selections, right? So let me walk you through it. All right. Again, I really recommend you watch the overview video, but I'm going to duplicate the background. Okay. And let's just say I need to change the color of the lingerie, which is a very complicated selection, right? A couple of things that we start with an analysis. First button that we have on our actions palette. By the way, if you're not in button mode on your actions, click the top right of the actions palette and you can go to button mode. Super convenient. Okay. If you're not doing that already. Now, this button on top, Max SB, that's maximum saturation and brightness. Okay, we duplicate the background layer just to have a copy. We run that, and then we're going to have our first analysis. So what this does is it maximizes saturation and brightness, not with an adjustment layer, not with adjustments in general. This does it from inside using HSB. So what always happens, like I like to explain to people, neutrals, like all this white, goes crazy because there's a lot of noise in there of all kinds of different hues. And that's what we need to know that we're looking at. We are looking at hues, only hues. Okay, saturation is maxed out and brightness is maxed out, so we can get a clear indication of what's going on. Now, if we look, not too bad. We notice that the outfit is in the blue and cyan range. The skin underneath is in magenta and red range. In other words, we do have some separation in there, possibly enough separation to do a really good selection to pick up on the lingerie. This is not something that you should spend a lot of time doing. Once you get used to it, using this analysis, you just quickly glance and go, cool, there is enough. See, if I turn off Max SB, it's not always obvious. You're not sure what the hues are doing. There's a lot of overlap, and your subconscious mind might think, well, magic wand's going to be a disaster. Color range is going to be a disaster. But when you get an analysis, you get, okay, I see what's going on. But there's a second thing we can do, okay? I'm going to duplicate once again. This is why the second option is minimize color cast. See, sometimes we need to minimize our color cast and make everything more true white balance, because then we can see actually what the hues are doing. And even if we create our mask or our selection with the color corrected or color cast removed version of the shot, that's fine. We'll get rid of that version when we have our selection made, and then we can go back to our original, whether it's color cast from the raw or we're trying to change something. Like in this case, a final edit, we're trying to change the color of the lingerie. So we're going to remove the color cast to see if that lets Photoshop's, tools, if you would, its brain, see things a little bit better. So let's run that real quick. Minimize color cast. All right. So now it's done that. It has taken the color cast using automatic curves to do that. So we're going to stamp that to a new layer. And then we're going to run Max SB on that. And now we're going to compare and contrast the 2 different versions. This is one with color cast removed. This is without. Color cast removed, without. Color cast removed, without. Here's what I like. I'm going to show you this, okay? This is without the color cast removed. You notice how these blues and purples are dangerously close, right? And the cyans and blues are a lot more different. On the color cast removed, I feel like there's a lot more lingerie, more outfit potentially selectable in the range that I want. Yeah, it looks like there's going to be a little bit more. Some of the meshy areas here that are dangerously close to the purple have changed quite a bit and are a little more cyan. I really like that. So I think I'm going to work with the minimized color cast version of the image. I'm going to delete the Max SB. Those 2 will make an appearance later, or rather one of them will. So flatten to a new layer. For organization, I'm just going to call it color cast removed. All right. Now we're going to run NBP Hue Range Select Advanced Subject, because in this case, we want to start with a subject selection. As a reminder as well, Control or Command K, if you want to do it this way, go to your preferences, image processing, make sure it's on cloud for subject selection processing, okay? That's going to be a little more accurate every time. If you do prefer, when you do it on your own, go to select and mask. Its function's also in there for cloud, but the action calls it automatically. So make sure you're on cloud because it can't actually change your preference for you, okay? Make sure you're on cloud. Also make sure you're in 16-bit ideally because all these color range selections are going to be a little clearer, okay? So let's run it. NBP Hue Range Select Advanced. It's going to do a bunch of little steps and the end result will be just a black frame because then we can start building our selection. And we're going to walk you through what I might do to get a selection. So here we are. Black frame. Now, again, in the overview video, which I really strongly recommend that you watch, it'll explain what all these layers are. I'm just going to go ahead and use them real quick. Okay. Here's our Max SB again, off currently. If I turn it on, you don't see anything yet because this is where all the action happens. That's why this layer has a red color thing to it. Now, one key thing when you're using hue and saturation to make selections is to stretch your property window way out. Here's why. I'm going to start with magentas, even though that's not exactly what the outfit is. It doesn't even matter which one I choose because I'm going to use the eyedropper tool. I'm going to turn off the layer so I can eyedrop somewhere in the outfit range. Let's find a good spot. We can always change it, but right there. Okay. Now we brighten the lightness 100% up. We turn this on again. We can barely see that we are getting some type of selection. But before we start turning on our enhancers, which is our Max SB or the chroma layer or boosting saturation, things like that, and boosting the output layer, the output levels, let's see how much of a selection we can get just using this function here, which is a saturation, hue and saturation. So we're going to expand this range. You see how more detailed I can get by using the nice wide, really big properties window. All right, so if I pull way off into the reds, now the skin tone's involved. That doesn't help me at all. So I'm having a little trouble envisioning this. So let's move the cyans out a little bit. Oh, that's helping. Okay, so let's really bump this up now. Max SB, we turn that on underneath. What it does, it sends pure hue data upward into the stack and allows this to, the layer on top, based on the way the layer stack works, it allows it to see the hues more literal, blanketly, directly. And when we want to make a selection like this, a very hard selection of an outfit that's complicated, we probably want to try if Max SB is going to help us. There's other things we can do. Go turn that on. Boom. Now our selection's a lot stronger because if we look underneath, we have all those cyans. Remember I showed you that in the pre-envisioning earlier? We're already close. Let's see if we can refine it further. We have some other enhancers we can use. Our goal is the outfit. We have a lot of leg here. We don't want all that. We can mask it out quickly, but let's see how much we can clean it up first. Okay, so let's go back to our selection, which is now called Blues 2, as the way hue and saturation works. Let me pull this in away from red and get a little bit more into the lavender and cyan. Okay, not bad. You see the meshy sort of selection that we're creating? Because remember, this is what effectively is a mask, and we're going to use this luminosity of what we're looking at to create a selection. So what we do, we can keep playing with this. We don't have to commit to it. We can slide back and forth until we feel like we have a decent selection. That's not bad. Now, once I determine that the magic layer, if you will, the hue and saturation layer, that I can brighten a specific range with Max SB underneath it, once I determine that works, I can go to levels, output, and really tweak. This is going to help me. I can make the mask stronger and harder, unless it's as maximum as it's going to get. We're going to find out. Here we go. With levels, we pull it in. And we can brighten the selection. We have two choices. If we can brighten it like crazy, I'm going to go away to 2 on the output. Okay, now if I brighten it as maximum as I can. So if we turn that on and off, we see it went a little bit more blended, the selection, and this one's a little more solid. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If you're really trying to change a strong color into another strong color, you want your selections a little bit more clear like this. And this is a tough selection, make no mistake. All right, so we're going to leave that on for the moment, but I'm not going to make it at 2. I'm going to make it like 25, just to tone down some of that. I'm going to go back to my range selector, which is hue and saturation. And I'm going to see, I'm just going to play with this and see, can I get away with a little less pink? Let's look at the whole shot for a moment. Okay, so that's not bad. All right, now you might think, what about all this ancillary stuff that we didn't want? Well, there's a few things we might be able to do there. Let's go back to our levels output for one moment. I try to brighten the midsection a little bit. Okay, it's not doing much. That's okay. No big deal. Go back to our hue range. If I brighten it up more and get more of the bottom, I also get more of the top. It's not bad. It's not bad. There's still plenty of mesh in here. That isn't bad at all. I'm going to try to work with that for now. Let me close hue and saturation, at least tone it down. Now, you might think, make the selection now, and then I can clean up this leg and feet very easily and then the little ancillary bits up here. But the way the action stack is set up, we can do it right here. So we go to our black masking, and counterintuitively, we paint with white, okay? And we can quickly clean up areas, toggle on and off to see what we're getting, quickly clean up areas that we don't want part of our mask. You can see how it works very quickly. You can technically paint with white too if you need to fix areas or add areas. Okay. You see that little stripe right here I'm about to paint out? Oops, excuse me. This little stripe right here. The reason why it's there is because there's a highlight there from color grading. This is a final image. So it's directly in cyan because it's color graded. So even though a color graded image isn't always ideal for making a selection, sometimes you have to. Sometimes you're told to, you want to, etc. Quickly mask out the hair with a nice big brush. Excuse me, the leg. With a nice big brush. We can always change our mask later. But now let's look. Oops. Come on now, zoom in. There we go. This is a pretty strong mask. Usually these dots out here, these are just like pixel noise. And this happens because of the Max SB underneath. Usually that's not a big deal. So we went from how the heck do we select just lingerie in this situation? Now we have a decent selection. And with our mask painting on our black painting, we might be able to come back to this and see if we can get away with a little bit more. Let's just see. Because sometimes we just want to make sure that we're getting as much as possible. So let's move this over. Keep expanding this out. Okay, whoa, okay, hold up. Yeah, that's pretty good there, I think. Yeah, I don't mind that. I think that's going to work. We can also blend as well if we need to. We can change this blend to make it a harder edge if we really want to. Remember I told you sometimes you want a hard edge when you're making these selections so your final selection is strong. So you can make serious adjustments, like big adjustments, like from lavender to a completely different color. That mesh isn't bad. Yeah, because see this right here in the inside of the flowers? This is a little bit transparent. And this selection reflects that little bit of transparency. I don't mind that. So we can go back, we can make our own selection with key commands. I think it's command option 2 and things like that. But we have it right here. Make selection with a little check mark. No matter where you are on your layer stack, you hit make selection. And it's done. It's selected what you're looking at. At this point, we can delete the entire layer stack if we're convinced we want it. That's the delete hue range stack. That way we don't have to delete everything manually. We can hit that, it all goes away. But in this case, I'm just going to turn it off temporarily. I'm going to come back down to our color cast removed shot, turn that off, turn off our color cast remover. Now we're looking at our original shot. We have a selection running, okay? Now we can choose an adjustment layer. In this case, I'm going to choose hue and saturation. It's created a hue and saturation adjustment layer with our new mask. Let's see how we did. Let's change the hue. See, now it's magenta, kind of purple. And now it's more of a yellow, I guess. Yeah. I can increase the saturation of it and make it much more pink if I want to. And if we look at the mask, we realize that her skin, her tattoo, and various other elements have not been changed really that much. They still look like it's a pink outfit now and it's transparent. That's a complicated selection that would be almost impossible any other way to do unless you're using these pre-envisioning and helper layers on something like Actions 15. So I'm not saying you'll ever need to do specifically this, but when selecting is really, really important to you and really, really like, I need to get this just right and I don't want to manually do this, this is a perfect tool for it. Large areas, like if I want to capture just her leg down here and I want to do it formally, then the pen tool is great for that. Or if you have a product or a car, automobile or something like that, pen tool is amazing if you want to take the time. But when you need selections that are technical and complicated like this, you're like, I really don't want to shift her skin into pink. I'd rather have just the outfit, but look at this outfit. This is where Actions 15 comes in. This is why it's useful for that. Great for creating luminosity masks in general, for color grading and for creative things. But this is a creative process, but this is a very utility process as well. We need to get the outfit selected, as best as possible. Keep in mind too, I'm going to select the selection again, that is the mask, and I'm going to use a different adjustment layer like curves. It doesn't have to be color. Just because we're using a hue selection, it doesn't have to be color. So let's darken the outfit and brighten the outfit. See that? And look, her skin and her tattoo underneath are not touched because we have a perfect selection, because we analyzed that the hue is different enough that we can possibly target it. And we did target it, and now we have a good selection. See that? So I could come here, I don't know, and just go to strong contrast. And now I've added contrast to the lingerie, or I can even make it pink and add contrast. And so that's a little too pink, so I can make that like a 50%. Now I've gotten, let's make the contrast 65%. Now I've gotten pink and a little more contrast. Very subtle change on a very complicated selection. That's the point of Actions 15. Like I said, to explain everything else and the other functions that it does and how these layer stacks are doing what they're doing, please watch the overview video. It should be linked somewhere on here, but at the very least down in the description. Any questions at all, drop us an email, nbp@ninobatista.com, or leave a comment below.